Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Revival of America podcast. This is Jenny. I'm the owner and the host of the Revival of America. Today we have Derek Johnson in the house, everybody. So please, you guys know how it kind of goes. Hopefully, we'll try to take some questions at the end. But more than likely, he's going to answer all of your questions through the course of his conversation here with you guys, or kind of his presentation, I should say, for you guys. So please. Just hang in there, sit back, enjoy, because Derek does, like I said, answer a lot of the questions throughout it. He has been on point, as have many, 107, so many others. And he's being vindicated, everybody. So it's like I tell everybody, follow Donald Trump, follow 107, follow Derek Johnson, because we're seeing that a lot of the stuff that they have been guiding us to, teaching us, has come to fruition. So just sit back, enjoy, everybody. Also, too, I want to let everybody know I've been having to do a lot of maneuvering around with my podcast, because many of you know I have my day gig, and that takes precedence to to my podcast. So, or my excuse me, to my podcast. It's priority. It pays the bills. So, Field will be on Wednesday. So we're moving things around to try to fit my work schedule. So bear with me. Just because you don't see maybe Field or Derek or somebody on their regular days that they come on, doesn't mean I'm not going to try to get them on some other day. So I will always post that, let you know. Obviously, depending on the guest schedule as well, we'll get it rescheduled. Life happens, and it's happening with me quite a bit with the growth of the podcast, and then the growth of my business that I have here that I run. So bear with me, everybody. I'm a one-man show, and again, I'm doing the best I can. So just hang in there. We do have a lot of shows this week. So we do have Derek today. We're going to have Rick Anson tomorrow. We've got Dallas, Silk, and Fields on Wednesday. SG and On is coming on Thursday. And then John Baxter will be on Friday, as well as Michael Castorello, I believe is how you say his name. He's from New York. He's going to talk about the corruption in New York with the justice system over there. They want to try to sentence him to 25 years in prison. Wrongful imprisonment. They took away pretty much his livelihood, his business. So you're going to get to get to hear his pain to purpose story. And this is kind of a scary kind of story, how they're kind of wrongly accusing him and wanting to send him to prison. So everybody, it might be something you guys want to listen to. You can always listen to it on the replay, everybody. It will be over on my X Space, and that will be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, also, too, again, everybody, we're being listened to in over 100 countries. We are making a lot of great noise. So, please, everybody, go follow us on the podcast, or the podcast host, or the social medias. And they are iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Riverside, Amazon Music. Social medias are Jenny Dreed Facebook, at Jenny_Dreed X, at J Dreed Rumble, at J Dreed True Social, at J Dreed Instagram, The Revival of America right here on Telegram, The Revival of America over on YouTube. Everybody, be careful who you listen to, who you follow, what you're putting in your mind. These people are getting more exposed by the day. I was in a space last night, guys, and it was wild. A particular individual was talking a good portion of the time, and then it was like an alter ego came out. It was wild. She got kind of crazy, and the things, it was like she was cool with what she was saying, like normal, and then boom, it was almost like demon like, guys. It was wild. It was crazy. I was kind of blown away. But that just goes to show you guys there's a lot of evil going on in this world. So the host had to shut that down real quickly, mute that individual, because what we're seeing, people, not only are people exposing themselves and being exposed as fake podcasters, fake influencers, you're seeing a lot of demonicness happening within these chats, within these comment boxes, whatever it may be, guys. A lot of demonic stuff. You're having some witches come in there and try to put spells on people. It is wild. So please, you guys, be careful. We are at war. It's a spiritual war, guys. Good versus evil, and we're seeing it. Oh, are we seeing it with these Epstein files? Um, I don't know, guys. I'm just telling you, be careful. You have to protect your mind. It's I don't even know. I kind of am still in shock from what I witnessed. Well, not literally witnessed, but witnessed and hearing with my ears last night. It was wild. And then hearing some people come into other chats and spaces saying, talking about some things that have experienced. And, we've actually kind of seen within some of these spaces. So be careful, guys. I can't implore you enough. If you're not strong enough in the mind, stay away from it. It's not worth it. Stay in the positive. There's more positive stuff going on than there is negative, but I'm telling you, it's going to continue to get wild, and it is a mind twister. And if you aren't strong in the mind, you can't be there. Those just are not the places for you. So I'll hang out there in some of these and listen to them for you and let you know what I see. But all in all, everybody, if you are not sure who to follow God above first and foremost, always. We need to people get close to God. Everybody use your discernment, because the demonicness is so in our faces right now. It's very disturbing. But again, follow Donald Trump. God first and foremost, follow Donald Trump, his moves, what he's saying, because he's basically telling us everything without telling us. And then, of course, like I said in the beginning of the show, the ones that haven't led you wrong through the course of the journey, I used to say 3 to 5 people. Now I say 1 to 2, because we're starting to see some of the people that maybe we've been following for a while kind of go by the waysides and not really being the person we thought they were, right? So we know Derek's been consistent. That's another thing. Consistency in what they say. No flip flopping, no riding the curtails of the next best thing, or like, oh, I support these people over here all the time, and then, oh, this is the next best thing. I'm going to go over here and then talk shit about these people over here. So you guys, you just got to be careful, because it's very dangerous out there what a lot of people are doing. So just please protect your mind. Wano Savin is another one. He's been very consistent in his messaging, as well as these guys are being vindicated. We're seeing the stuff that they've been talking about coming to fruition, and many of us what we've researched as well, right? But Derek and Juan, they're different individuals in the sense they take you from the birth to the grave of it. This is how we got here, this is the middle part, and this is where we're going. And that is key, everybody. We need to get to the truth, and that's how we get to the truth. Whether you like that journey or not, the reality of it is the education and the messaging is huge. We're all going to need to be re-educated, and that messaging needs to come through in a powerful way to where people can understand it and start learning the truth, right? So just be careful, guys. I care about you, and I see people losing their minds because they just don't know. Also, to everybody, check out the website at therevivalofamerica.com. It's a work in progress. We're putting some new things and taking some old things out of there. If you want information about Field's books, they're over there. If you want information about John Baxter, he's got a page. But if you want to get in touch with like John Baxter and his staff, email me at therevivalofamerica.com, because I will connect you guys with John and his staff. You guys want to go check them out. Also, if you have a question for me, I'm directing everybody's questions and comments, whatever, over to my email. It's just easier for me to respond to you there than to go to all these different DMs, because I get a lot of DMs and emails daily, and I'm just trying to centralize everything, guys, because like I said, I'm really busy with my day gig, my business that I run here, and then the podcast with the growth of it. It's getting a little bit challenging for me to keep up with it all, but I'm doing the best I can, and we're doing it over here. I'm doing it over here, but just bear with me, guys. Also, too, last but certainly not least, if you have a story or a journey to tell, please feel free to reach out to me at troasubmissions@yahoo.com. That is the submission email to submit your story to. I will read them and vet them if I believe it is a legitimate story, because unfortunately we do have those shysters out there that like to give a bullshit story and just want to get on a podcast. I will reach out to you and get you and your voice heard on the podcast. Because remember, everybody, it's your story, your journey that's going to help shape this new world and the truth that we come into. So with that, guys, Derek typically gives us 90 minutes of his time. He is here. I know many of you guys are excited to hear what he has to say. A lot going on, a lot of positive. Remember, a lot of positive is going on, so hang on to that. And just stay out of the noise, stay out of the black pilling, stay out of that. So, Derek, I want to welcome you. Say hi, and how you doing, my friend?
I mean, I'm a winner every day. So that
I
that's
love
just
that. The
me.
positivity. I love it.
Yeah. So that's
So
just
let's
me every
see.
day.
So what do you think? Okay, because you know me, I'm always talking about people, and just be careful who they listen to, who they follow. We're seeing a lot of things happening right now. There's a lot of positive things going on. I know a lot of people. My two questions for you, and then maybe you can touch on whatever you want to touch. But the two questions I have for you, because we saw that ruling with SCOTUS regarding the tariffs, and then we heard RFK Jr. and Trump talk about I think it's glyphosate or something, the stuff that they're spraying on the food, right? Um, that was a huge win for the tariffs, because what now Trump can do is even bigger than what he was able to do before. But so many people, again, stayed on the surface level of it, didn't understand it, were pissed off, and just wanted to go for that emotion right then and there, right? Kind of the same thing with the whole glyphosate with it, what they're spraying on our food. But in reality, everybody, my research, what I did today, and what Trump and RFK was saying, is they're now they want to get the correct chemical that doesn't have all the poisons in it here, made in the USA, not overseas in other countries, so we can start healing our land and have the food that we're supposed to have that's healthy for us, right? And what better place to have it than here in the USA? Just kind of like with the AI, not China, not anywhere else. So if you can touch on maybe those and give us your perspective of it, because I've been hearing a lot of this in different on podcasts and chats and comment boxes, and I'd love to get your take on it.
Well, my take's going to be probably sound like a butthole, but that's just, you know,
How does a
but
butthole sound, Derek?
I mean, it depends on what you ate. But, you know, this is going to be like Taco Bell mixed with tequila at 3 a.m. You know what I mean? But,
Oh,
uh, I mean, sometimes you got to paint a picture, you know, but the biggest, there's a few things. One, I say this daily, I say it weekly, I say it with everybody I know personally. Um, I mean, I was just talking to some buddies today about this, and I'm like, the biggest, the biggest thing we have right now is the spiritual warfare and the information warfare, and then there's like this, whether you want to call it a razor thin line or a thin line or a line, however you want, however big you want to make it, doesn't really matter in one way, but it is when it comes to terminology. Because I've seen people take me out of context when I say what I'm about to say, and I'm like, I preface it and say, don't take me out of context. Listen, don't hear, but listen. But there are way too many people out there claiming that they're somebody and they're not. But then there's also the gravity and the weight of the American people to pull the weight as well. So it still goes back to your foundation, the foundation. And if your foundation isn't on the foundation of the United States of America, which means you are the government, we the people, that's what those three words, they've been so watered down, they've been so misconstrued, they've been so butchered and twisted and manipulated that, see, even the three most powerful words in every aspect of our foundation, they have no weight anymore with the people who are supposed to. It ain't with people like me, but then so it's like you have this bridge, and you got to decide what side of the bridge you're on. And if you're constantly getting mad at people who had the plan, a strategic plan, the plan, and drew a line in the sand and said enough's enough, it wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to be potpourri and freaking roses. Come on, people. These people have been running free for, people will say thousands of years. Well, you could say that, but let's just say 150 years because of the 1860s and 1871. We know exactly what happened then. That's when we really lost America back to the crown, and it didn't happen overnight. It took it a little while. And then they just ran rampant. But why did they run rampant? They ran rampant because you whoever you are out there listening, only you know if it's you listening. You let it get this way. You let the swamp get this big. You let them run rampant. So, it's like I tell people, if you're responding or reacting to me negative, mad, angry, bitter, cussing, guess what? Your response proves that it struck a nerve. If it struck a nerve that way, then you got some finding to do about yourself, not me. Because I know who I am and how I got here. Whether you choose to believe that or not, it's different. But we have way too many people out there trying to act like they're somebody and they're not. Now, that can be dangerous too. There's always a danger in anything by saying, hey, don't listen to all these people. But then again, we're in an operation. All right. We're in an operation. And let me just paint another picture before I get to the actual question. Look, Michael Flynn, General Flynn. There's a lot of people out there just worships the ground he walks on. Well, that's fine. You can worship whatever you want to worship. You can like whoever you want to like. But simply listening to someone say, there's not a military operation going on, blah, blah, blah. And you just go, oh, that's a general. And Derek Johnson, he wasn't no general. If you don't go look at the material that I'm talking about, and if you don't know what General Flynn specialty is, which is 5G warfare, which is misinformation, which if his wife walked in and said, does this dress make me look fat? He could say, yep, it sure does. Because 5G warfare is misinformation. So he may be having to run an operation on his own wife to get something out, no matter what it may be. Because yes is no and no is yes. Misinformation. So see where we are right now. Let me go ahead and tell you, and I'm speaking on behalf of every memorial grave out there. Because we served under the same Title 10. If they were active duty and reserve, if they were National Guard, it's a Title 32, but it's the same oath. And every veteran out there, whether they know it or not, and every active duty right now, and every National Guard and every reserve, we all have served under the same oath, the same laws. But more specifically, the memorial graves, because they're no longer with us. Where we are right now, February 23rd, 2026, it is a piss poor disgrace that so many people that claim to be a patriot, that claim to be a Republican, that claim to be a conservative, look like damn fools. And it's all in a blueprint. Now, I'm sorry, it's me who has the blueprint. If you don't like me and you don't like my delivery, you don't like it, then I'm sorry. You'll get over it because I'm the one that has it. But if you don't like me, then you don't like President Trump. Because I can tell you right now, he wants fighters. And if you got problems with the F word, you don't want to be around the man you claim to support. He drops it like it's hot all the time. There's so many judgmental people in this world. And if the truth be told, a lot of people should be deported. Ungrateful, unappreciative Americans. You ain't even acting like an American. Because Americans fight. But you can't fight and you can't take local action and expect national impact when you don't even know what you're fighting for. I mean, it's getting old. Now, I just told a friend of mine today, I'm going to the first nude beach I can find this year when it gets hot. And I'm going to stand there, but you know what, naked, and look back, and I'm going to have the biggest shit-eat grin on my face. And it's going to have a caption that says, an ass for an ass. And if you want to take it that way, you can take it that way. But guess what? You can hate me. You can mock me. You can ridicule. You can do all these things. You can even want me dead. But the laws and orders read right now what they read. And it is a strategic special operation. The military has been in control. And you should want to know that just for that reason. someone had to draw a line in the sand. Someone had to say enough is enough. And I feel just like I'd probably get my butt whooped in a lot of rings, but I would get in there and I'd try. And that's what President Trump's best friend said down at Mar-a-Lago, one of the events I was at. His best friend, he said, I'm the only one who can still call him Donnie. Now, that's a best friend. And he said, let me tell you something about my friend Donnie. He said there's two things about him. One is loyalty. Two is, he said, he don't care if you're in the ring getting your ass beat. Be in the ring throwing punches. Don't be the one out on the spectator yelling and throwing all kinds. You can clap, be that spectator, but don't be that spectator out there. I could whoop him too and get him. Get in the ring and fight. And so many Americans, you're not an American. The American spirit is to fight, but you need to know what you're fighting for. I mean, this stuff's getting old weekly in another way, because where we are right now, we shouldn't have it to be sounding like this, like Paul Revere rolling through the night. Hey, the redcoats are coming. Get your guns. Get everything ready. Lord, no, we shouldn't be there. So you wonder why you can't trust any. You wonder why you're whining, complaining, griping, fussing, because you. Just like chemtrails. I'm so sick of people messaging me about chemtrails. Chemtrails. What about chemtrails? Chemtrails. You gonna believe me if I said, oh, well, they got this special formula that they put in there now, and they're actually cleansing the planet. You wouldn't believe me if I told you. You're gonna keep believing what you want to believe, because I'm not your voice. Well, why are you asking me then? And then you'll have people, I'd say, well, the Air Force addressed this. Well, that was in the 90s, though. That wasn't, okay, well, you don't like that. Who's it going to take? President Trump could have a cure for cancer. Liberals are going to ostracize him until there's an actual revelation. But there's been so many revelations to this point. There's been so many verbal and visual validations to this point. I mean, that's what baffles any operator I know. Every single operator that I know, whether we can and can't tell you what is and what ain't, there's so much at this point that is such a validation for every aspect that the portions that you don't know yet, the portions that you can know, would suffice you with the portions you don't know to let you know that, hey, we got this. Now, that don't mean sit on your thumb and sit on your couch and not do anything locally, but you can't do anything locally until you know what you're fighting for. See, what they didn't do is tell you that, hey, do you know that if you coerce somebody under the right kind of leadership, if you're coercing someone, you could also be punished for that. See, and that's how people get in trouble, is by listening to the wrong people, and they may be coercing you into a field where you can drink a little thing called some Kool-Aid. And there's nothing that I've shown anybody, whether you think I'm real or not, there's nothing I've shown that you cannot put your eyes on a .gov or a .mil site. And then you have to go, no, like I've been explaining, everything that you see on the news right now, everything, every single little topic, little, big, medium, whatever, every single topic, guess what it is? It's President Trump's actions in the front, in the lead. There's not one single topic, not one single topic, even through 2021 and 2025. There's not one single topic that wasn't President Trump in the lead. There's no Democrat doing, oh, we got him today. And then the Republicans have to respond. If you actually knew the topics and the laws and the orders invoked, there's nothing where it's, oh, the deep state did this today. I kept hearing people say that on podcasts in 2022 and 23 and 20. I'm like, no, they're not. Quit misleading people. I'm telling you, the heart of a warrior, the heart of a true soldier. And it's even Johnny Cash, who was in the military at one point, but he said this after the military, but he talked about how trust and loyalty will get you killed. Truth gets you killed. Because people really don't want to hear the truth. People really do love drama. And the ones who say they don't are the very ones who carry it and tote it the most. Because there is an absolute blueprint, absolute, that outlines enough that what you don't know yet, you will know. But there's enough that shows you. So all this food stuff and all this, well, why is it now a topic right now? See, that's your validation. Is why is it a topic now? Why wasn't it a topic 15 years ago, 20 years ago? May have been a topic at your household, but if you're a patriot, you're in a tiny percentile, really tiny. So the people who are listening later to this is really who this is for, obviously. Your family and friends are still in a lot of that category. I know someone today who literally just got in an argument with someone, a depender, married to a colonel, thinks that they know everything, says Derek Johnson's not a reliable source. She's never even listened to me. Never even listened to me. How can you say I'm not a reliable source if you've never listened to me? That's a depender. See, so they're still out there. And her husband, if he doesn't know that his paycheck is out there doing what she's doing, then that's one thing. But if he's one of them, he needs to be removed from office. He needs to be out of office, out of there. This military industrial complex, because a colonel's next step is a brigadier general. We don't need those in the military. So they're still out there amongst us. So then you have to go to what is the priority of America? Where are our priorities? And why wasn't this a mainstream topic 15, 20, 30 years ago? So think how long they've been doing this in the foods. So if it's just now coming to surface, that means that President Trump's already taken care of it. This is for the audience that needs to hear it, that has no idea what's going on. And for all the little Missy Mays and the little Daisies who say, Dear Joseph's not a reliable source. See, so I wouldn't poison her food, but I probably would take a crap in her Wheaties. Because we have no excuses to look the way we do. And I don't care what people think about me. My mom, my dad, they love me. They're proud of me. I'm a middle-aged man. My grandparents are all gone. Everybody else that I have to impress, I guess, if that's the word, they all love me. They say at least can tolerate me. So why do I give a dang what anybody else thinks? And here's the thing, though. You can hate me and want to hang me, but the law still reads what it reads right now. And it's a strategic special operation. The 45-47 is not over. It's not over. Now, that don't mean it's going to be all this other stuff, gloom and doom. It's not. But anyone who's still in gloom and doom has not divorced. Well, if they're patriots, claim to be patriots, they haven't divorced their feelings and emotions, because you got to flip your script. You got to put away and go, okay, everything they're showing on mainstream media is for the target audience. If you don't want to be in the target audience, then get out of it. You don't have to be. You need to be in the target President Trump. You need to be in that camp, what he's actually working with. And I've had people ask me, well, you think people would be mad if they found out that this was a lie? It's not a lie. Strategies and tactics are not a lie. I'm sorry that the people are too dumb to get to this point. That's what we got to address, is why do we have to run strategies and tactics on people who they want to know a solution? They claim they want a solution. They claim they want answers. They claim, okay, well, we need to have some laws here. We got to have some rules and procedures, because if it was just everybody for themselves, guess what's going to happen? Ooh, it's going to be chaos. So many people people just want their own Build-A-Bear. It was like no one thinks for the greater good of everything. And so President Trump, all this RFK stuff, this stuff's already it's been taken care of. This is the rollout. And then, I mean, I just was talking to a family member today about this. In reality, look at the people who eat at, restaurants every day or every other day. I mean, in reality, you should be growing your own garden, chickens, tomatoes, whatever, right? And people don't even do that. Boy, if the big box stores just shut down, you talking about chaos, don't come around here. Don't come to the South. Remember, we're too dumb and slow for you. Don't come down here. Don't go to the Midwesterners. Don't go out to the country and the farms. Remember, we're too dumb. We don't know anything. Don't come here. We ain't got nothing for you. Our stockpiles are for us, not for you, because you whine and complain that Derek kills a deer. All right, so just remember that. But it ain't going to get there. We're not in a doomsday. We're not in a dooms effect. And I am so sick and tired of all these podcasters out there. The internet's good when it's good, but boy, it has been a cluster. You know what? If you've ever watched Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood, if you haven't, be careful if you're a holier than thou, because you won't like the word that goes on the end of cluster. All right. But it's a cluster, you know what? With the social media out there and all the people who are claiming to be somebody and they're not. And they have no information. It's the same old surface of it. Different look, different face, different mouth, same old crap. Proverbs 18:2. Maybe I shouldn't be quoting scripture since I talk the way I talk sometimes, but then again, scripture's for people like me. Proverbs 18 verse 2 talks about people who just want to hear their own opinions. Mine's not an opinion. None of mine's an opinion. That's why you never hear me talk in-depthly on certain things. I talk straight up the strategy, straight up the tactic, straight up the law, straight up the order. You don't ever hear me telling you what President Trump should do and what the military should do and what there's a huge difference in talking opinions than it is talking what is exactly in place that you can put your eyes on, you can put your ears on, and then something like the tariffs this week, like it's not a policy. You can hate tariffs, but the whole question was not about policy. The whole question was about Constitution. See, that's where terminology comes in, and this is where people are struggling. When President Trump says something, people struggle to find out, because if you don't know there's an actual plan and a blueprint and a strategic, pre-planned strategic, which that's what that means, strategic means it's pre-planned operation. If they don't know that and they've never heard of someone like me, then they get a hall pass. But if they have and they're still out there whining, complaining, bickering, then it shows they haven't read, they haven't studied, and they don't comprehend. Because anyone going after President Trump or anybody on President Trump's team that claims that they're a patriot, claims a Republican conservative, and if they've heard me, then they're making themselves look atrocious. Because President Trump's terminology that maybe ruffles feathers, that's for the target audience. Because sometimes ruffling feathers don't mean a bad thing. It gets their attention. Because most of these people, when it does ruffle them, it's because they've never heard of it. But that's their little opinion or whatever it is that creates that little hamster to start running in their mind. Whatever gets them going, well, whatever their reaction is, that don't mean that reactions don't mean that they're going to change anything. They're not. That's why this stuff's so easy. If Joe Biden was real and if Joe Biden was president, then how come they couldn't terminate anything by President Trump? How come he does not have a Title 10 or Title 32 military invocation? You have to have a foundational order to use the military. That's what they yell. That's what the liberals out there, that's how dumb they look. You have to use the word dumb and stupid, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry. There's just times when you have to use those two words. That's how stupid they look. don't obey an unlawful order. What did President Trump just say yesterday? What did he say today in a post? He said it today in another post. He said, Congress has already approved mine many, many days ago. He's talking about December the 20th, 2019. What do I talk about all the time like a broken record? Everything stems. He already has a congressional authorization. He already has it. So when you hear liberals out there, oh, president has to have a congressional authorization. Yeah, you're correct, morons. Guess who has one? President Trump. Guess who don't? Obama and Biden. So see, if you just knew those little things, see, those are things that are foundational. Those are things that you're supposed to walk around every day and know. What is a foundational order? Then if you see something in the news, you can go, wait, like the tariffs, for example. You can say, well, the foundational order requires this, this, or this, and you'll have your foundations. And then whatever's being presented to you, you can see that. Now, if you don't know there's a strategic operation and that the whole thing outlines an operation, then it still could answer it, but you may be over there like scratching your head like, well, that's weird. But see, that's why everybody needs to see the whole thing as a blueprint, the 45-47, when I put brackets around it. And I don't mean it's going to stop and the world's going to end when 47's done and it's going back to the swamp or anything like that. Don't mean that. But when you put brackets around it, it shows you this is pre-planned. Because everything from January the 20th, 2017 to present day, there's not one thing in there that Joe Biden, Kamala, Obama, even if you thought they were real, even if you thought they were really in power, there's nothing they did that was powerful. There was nothing they did authoritative. Nothing. And then President Trump tells you December the 2nd, 2025 in a post. He said, well, all the Joe Biden's executive actions, which means executive orders, which means proclamations, which means national emergencies, which means pardons, which means treaties, which means everything. So for the people that thought they saw Joe Biden put executive orders in, if they go to the Federal Register and click on 21, 22, 23, 24 in the early part of 2025, it's still there visually because the operation's not done. But President Trump told you on December the 2nd, as your president, he said, all executive actions, legal documents, and pardons have been terminated. Ladies and gentlemen, if the Democrats and the deep state and the libtards had any kind of foothold in this nation, any kind, they would have been, they as in lawyers as well, judges, lawyers, attorneys, all over this land, would be losing their everlasting minds, but also as a whole, because they're in a what? They're in a bar, which is a system where they're all in it together, right? They would be heavily going after President Trump because of that. Because if a president terminated 4 years worth of executive actions, but especially national emergencies, you want to talk about chaos and pandemonium in the world? If the deep state nations were still operating, if Ukraine was still fully independent on their own, outside of being latched to the deep state, but independent meaning they're not under a capitulation, if Iran was not under an operation, if Venezuela was not under an operation, what do you think they'd be doing? It's this simple, ladies and gentlemen. So see, the food topics, those are simple. And I mean, there's stuff you're eating right now that even if it was cleaned off, even if it didn't have anything in it, it's still not probably good for you. Anything. Nachos, well, like Doritos, whatever, Cheetos, even me, I drink RC Cola. It ain't good for me. I know it ain't, but I drink it because I got used to it growing up. Like it. Is it good for me? Nope. Will I probably get kidney stones? Probably. I'll deal with that when it comes, and I'll hate myself the whole time when I do it. But it is what it is. We're all guilty of something. So what we have is a bunch of holier than thous out there pointing the finger. Just like I did on my podcast last night. Let's confiscate your computers. Let's take your phone records. Let's see what you've been doing. Some of you check out, but a lot of people pointing fingers right now. Ooh, be a stone throwing party like the Bible talks about. Those without sin cast first stone. It'd be a stone throwing party. Rolling Stones wouldn't even have a brand anymore. There'd be so many stones throwing around. Willie Nelson, they would be. Word stone wouldn't even matter anymore. Like, huh? So we have to get to priorities in this nation. We have to get back to principles. We have to get back to foundation. We have to get back to literature, philosophy, strategies, tactics. And what does all our military law talk about? It talks about what? Prevention. It says not to judge a man on his past, but to prevent him from sinning in the future. Which that's everybody right now. But see, what people don't do is think as a team. We're all Americans, if you're here lawfully. And if you came here as an immigrant and you did what you're supposed to do, welcome. You're here. Glad to have you. All right? It's all right. Nothing wrong with that. Because you do what you're supposed to do to be here. You're an American. That's what America's about, is doing things the right way on a foundation. But if you're here, then guess what? I'm a Native American. So I have two lineages where I'm a Native American, but also I can trace back to the Revolutionary War with my white side, if you want to call it that. Right? So I have both lineages that says that. And I get to be a butthole. I get to be a thorn in your rear end if you don't like me, or whoever it is out there. I get to be that. You know why? Because my lineage is here. And I like our foundation. And we have a lot of people who like our foundation. And you got to do what? You got to come and take it. If you want to fight, we fight. We go. We do it. Let's go. But see, most people are whining and complaining. They ain't willing to fight. They don't want to fight. And we shouldn't have to fight. But I'm like, I'm not going to fuss and bicker with you when there's a clear-cut answer. So if you're going to fuss and bicker, I'm going to say, no, you ain't going to, no, you're not going to, no. Fist up, let's go. Go get in the field somewhere. Get you a gun, I'll get a gun. Let's go. Let's do this old school. Let's see how patriotic you are. So see, we have to get back to priorities. And we have too many people in America that don't, you can't just grasp for straws all the time. You have to have a foundation and a principle there. And like the tariffs are not about policy. They're about, are they constitutional or not? Well, that's like I've been saying for over and over and over. If you've been listening to me, most people have on here. I see some names that I recognize. But what have I said? I said, well, if this was real time, if this was just a normal presidency, no strategic operation, special operation via laws and orders that outline that, this is just normal. All President Trump would have to do is this. Well, it was your people who put this in the law. The Trade Act 1962, 1974, the Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930. Here they all are right here. These have been in law longer than JERREAD Johnson's been alive. All right. So why did your people put them in? Why does the law read this way? Why does the law say I can do this? Why are you telling me I can't do it? Since the law has been in the law since 74, 77, 62, 1930. So see, it's a constitutional thing. So like what they did with the tariff thing, he calls it the IEPA, which is funny, but instead of having to say International Economic Emergency Powers Act, he called it the IEPA. But with the IEPA, that's what the Supreme Court, it was a waste of your taxpayer if it was real. It's not, but if it was real, in real taxpayer time. That's a waste of your taxpayer dollars for the Supreme Court to sit back and pull this in. It had nothing to do with tariffs. It had everything to do with one little portion, one little section. There's multiple sections in Acts, ladies and gentlemen. It had one little portion, one little section that didn't say the word tariff. It says regulations on imports. It don't say tariffs on imports. It says regulations. That's what President Trump's talking about, the license. So see, the liberals out there, oh, he lost, he can't accept it. See, they don't even want to know the terminology. If this was reversed, though, in a real-time setting, if this was Obama or one of their people, then they would want to pay attention to detail. So that's called what? Hypocrisy. Right? It's a do as I say, not as I do. Do what works for me. So it's a Build-A-Bear. So if they're a Build-A-Bear and you're acting like a Build-A-Bear, what's the difference? Nothing. Opinion don't mean a thing if there's not a solution there. We already have a solution, though. So why are people so looking like chickens with their head cut off right now? So that tariff tariffs now. So see, he was only like talking about the 10%. Now he can use 15% all the way to 50% because there's other tariffs. They didn't terminate the tariffs. This is how simple this stuff is. And guess what? For the people that thought Joe was real, for the people who thought he was real, for the people who thought he was president, don't know anything about strategies, tactics, etc., Joe continued all the tariffs. So let me roll into this, Jenny. Let me just roll into this because I'm on fire right now. Let me roll into what I'm about to do because I'm about to.
Go for it.
So if President Trump is one of them, if he's one of them, like I've been seeing now, I'm seeing rhinos jumping ship. The true colors are coming out because people's patience are wearing down because it's about them, not the team, not about the strategy, not about the operation. And a lot of these people already know you can't. At this point, let's be honest, especially in the Patriot world, if you ain't never heard of me, you hiding under a rock somewhere. And it ain't about me. But in the Patriot world, if you've heard about me and you say that I'm full of, you know what, and all, yeah. So I've been seeing a lot of rhinos coming out. So all this rolls together. So if President Trump is one of them, Netanyahu, all of them, then why is every one of his laws and orders and vote and the military that I was in, still in a different capacity, operators, etc., how is it that we can show you via strategic and special operations laws from the military first, because that's what was originated first in our nation? How is it that we can show you that everything that President Trump has done has fundamentally reset the United States of America on its foundation as prescribed in the Declaration of Independence? 2017 to 21 was a resetting of the legislative branch. 2021 to 25 was a resetting of the executive branch. And there's visuals of all this. There's verbal and visual. The executive branch, reconstitution of the executive branch, publication January the 1st, 2021. And then the visuals of that. And I've laid it all out. I just did a podcast last night where I did a back to the basics of all the visuals. You can't argue this stuff. You witnessed it. All you got to do is put it together. Now we're going through the resetting of the judicial branch. Everything in the news is judge this, judge that, judge did this, judge did that, Supreme Court this, Supreme Court that, court this, Ninth Circuit this, Sixth Circuit that, Fourth Circuit this, Fifth Circuit that. It's all judge, 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 court, court, court. You're watching a fundamental reset. You're watching these people who abuse their powers be cast out. in front of people where you can learn and the people in the target audience can learn. Everything that President Trump has done is he's the first to develop a strategy in the military for trafficking under the tunnel warfare, which is called subterranean warfare. He's the first to implement a strategy. I know these teams out there. I know a lot of guys. Sorry, ladies, but it's mainly dudes, right? I know guys in these tunnels. This is why I get the attitude I get. Because President Trump, there's so many things that he has destroyed and decimated and obliterated all of their rings, every aspect of their trafficking rings, the cartels. We have special operations, special forces all over Mexico right now, all over Central America, and all over Colombia and Venezuela. This is no secret. And you've heard General Paul Valloway. You heard him on podcast with me if you watched. He's the one who gave President Trump the strategies. And he said, well, he actually went with my offensive plan first. And he's going with the defensive now. He said we have special operations everywhere. This is before. And then there's validations came out after that. He's a general, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand what generals and the categories they get in, especially the good ones. So everything President Trump's doing is busting all their money rings. Money laundering. Money laundering isn't just with companies, hedge funds, secret fund, all this stuff. It's also money laundering, meaning casinos and different things. Also trafficking. All their money, they recycled their money in the same systems. It was their system. So I'm about to really say something. I've already said it on my Telegram, but I'm going to say it because it just got to hear it. So all these people out there saying President Trump and Israel, most of you ain't from Israel. Most of you can't put Israel on a map. Most of you can't even put your own state on a map. Data shows this, not me. Data shows this, that most people couldn't take a blank canvas of the world or the U.S. and put the states in the correct places. That's sad right there. 50% of America is what it says on average. So you want to have an opinion on a nation, and then you want to say that, why are we funding Israel? You're the people who would get us in a world war, because you're the people who would rip the rug out. You wouldn't know any history. You wouldn't know any of the past diplomacy, good or bad or indifferent, doesn't matter. But it does matter if it was bad diplomacy, because what these past presidents and Congresses and their reigns were doing and promising people, well, people are still people. And if people are willing to do good and do what's right for humanity, you don't rip the rug out from them. You work with them. You create a vision for the what? The future. What is the military law and the law of war and peace? You know, in our military law, you know, the book that we use for the law of war and peace, you know how old it is? 1625. Portions of it, a lot of it. Way back yonder. That's way before our military, way before our foundation. That's what's referenced in the law of war manual. Also, Colonel William Winthrop, who is one of our military law gurus, he has a piece called Military Law and Precedents. Highly recommend reading. Talks about the 3 different kinds of jurisdictions, military jurisdiction, all kinds of things. Occupation, military government, etc. So we have in our law of war and peace a quote that says, you don't judge a man on his past, but you prevent the sin for the future, which means prevention. So all these people out there whining and complaining, you let it happen. Whoever you are out there, I don't know who's listening. So you got to take some on the chin every now and then and go, you know what? What do I got to do? How do I get involved? What do I got to know? What do I got to learn? What do we do? So see, all these years, if you just rip the rug out and you didn't know what all has been quote unquote promised in their rings, you create a world war. Because if there's those leaders over there, if they were in real time, which they're not, but if they were, then they could be like, you know what, well, we're going to war because we all the money they would be losing, the collapse they would experience. You don't create calamity, ladies and gentlemen, to get peace like that. The only time war is necessary is when there needs to be a fundamental change. Not strategic, not any of these tactics, ladies and gentlemen. When it's a fundamental, when our founders yelled, you know what their main battle cry was, ladies and gentlemen, back then? Our founders, taxation without representation. So they didn't mind being taxed. They just weren't going to be taxed without representation. They want to know who they were being taxed from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now we have representatives, but people don't even know who they are, what they do, how it works. Representation. But no matter how bad or corrupt or, incompetent a leader could be, which they wouldn't really be a leader, but just for sake of using a title, they're not going to listen to you coming there yelling, kicking, cussing if you don't even know. If you have no constructive criticism, if you have nothing to hold to them and say, hey, Article 1, Section 2, Clause 1 here says this, and this, blah, blah, blah. They still may not listen to you, but you put them on record. And if enough people go in there and put them on record with the actual material, then that's how you build and grow. And that's how you oust somebody out. That's how you get them out. Because by the time everybody gets together and has the information needed and sees that this person is fraudulent and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then when that number grows and everybody knows by the law that that person's not upholding the law, then when you go down there and vote, bingo. So let me show you how everybody right now who's yelling about Israel, guess who you are? You're Hitler. You're Hitler, and you're a Nazi. Yep, I said it. You're a Nazi, and you're Hitler. So see, in order to be able to say something like that, I have to have a principle. I have to have a foundation that says I can prove that you're a Nazi. I can prove you're a Nazi, and I can prove that you could be Hitler's child, just as a joke. And here's how. Here's the principle. Is this. JFK. Everybody right now that's saying that President Trump is in with Netanyahu, he's turned on us. It's not America first. It's Israel first. It's all that. They're the same people. I won't say you. I'll say they. I'll use the liberals pronoun. They are the same people who say that Israel killed JFK. Okay, so let's roll with that then. So Israel killed JFK. So these people today, so you trying to punish all of Israel or just the Jews? Which ones is it? You saying that we need to wipe out all of Israel? We need to wipe their people out? We need to kill their people? You saying we need to kill Netanyahu? What you saying? Because Netanyahu wasn't the one that killed JFK, and he had nothing to do with that, simply because he's holding an office in the state, nation of which you think did such a thing. Also, you're going against the very grain of military law that's been taught for all these years. You don't have to like it, but you're going to prove that you're a Nazi. Because if you don't like military law that's been in place since the 1600s and passed down, et cetera, we're talking about peacemakers. We're talking about people with philosophies, literature, IQ, brains who weren't quick to go to war just because to go to war and because you want to flex your muscles and you want to, fight and do all these other things. We're talking about every aspect of what I talk about are the people with strategies, tactics, and want to quell things and want to work on things the right way. We'll kick your butt if we have to, but here's the deal. We will probably kick your butt anyway because we're the ones with the strategies. We're not too hasty. We're not too quick. We're not impatient. We have the strategies. We have the tactics. And we will outsmart you. We will outfox you. And we'll beat your ass and take your Twinkies while we're at it. All right. And then we'll tie you up and put dirty, wet, stinky socks in your mouth and say, now are you going to listen? You going to listen now? We wouldn't even wipe you out more than likely because that's not our goal. Our goal is to say, listen, the goal is to live in peace and harmony. If you're not capable of that, then we might have to take you down to the river and baptize you, if you know what I mean. But if you're capable of that, what are you fighting for? Why are you so mad, bro? Why are you so upset? Why you want to kill somebody so bad? Just to kill them? Nazi? So see, the same people claiming that President Trump has jumped ship. Israel's been in our National Defense Authorization Act for years. And you say, well, that's the point. Exactly. All right. Which means there's something bigger at stake. But that still don't mean that you don't try to make what? Peace with the people living right now. They got mouths just like you. They have a heart like you. They have well, I don't know about the brain part. Some people out there. But they got one, whether it works or not, whether all the circuits are firing in there or not, whether that matter is actually working or not, I don't know. But JFK, when he got out of the military at 28 years old, he toured Europe. And he's got a diary. And this diary has been auctioned off. It's authentic. It's been authenticated for a fact. And in that diary, he talked about how what Hitler did was things that legends are made of. And it says that out of all the stuff around that surrounds Hitler, that in the future, which he was writing then at 28 years old, he was saying that in the future that Hitler wouldn't be the person that people think. Now, everything I've heard about Hitler from all walks of life, that the ones that don't think that was all the whatever out there, but the ones that thinks it was real, everybody I've heard thinks it was atrocious, disgusting, despicable, crimes against humanity, which would all be true. So if you think that President Trump and Netanyahu are in cahoots with each other, and you don't know anything about all the other stuff that's in place, and you claim Israel killed JFK, but JFK praised Hitler, what's that make you? A Nazi. It makes you Hitler. It makes you his mindset. Because what was World War II? What was that all about? Yeah. So see, doing things your way leads to World War. How did the World War end up? Well, some say we kicked their butt, but guess what? Special operations colonels and special operations can tell you that, well, did we really whip their butt? Or were we already under the crown? Was it all strategically planned from the bad dudes? And special operations, especially colonels, we've already done this show before, can paint the picture of how Roosevelt and Churchill, they knew, because we were already under that. We were already under this. And then the Executive Order 6102, the buyback of the gold that Roosevelt issued, we're going to buy it back from you. Wasn't a lot of money. Wouldn't have sustained forever. But if you didn't sell your gold, you got penalized. About $10,000 back then, which would have been probably about $200,000 now, maybe more. So see, if people actually knew a little bit about philosophy and literature, strategies and tactics, you'd see that pretty much all of our past from 2016, especially back to 1868, which President Trump was talking about the birthright citizenship. Again today, the 14th Amendment. None of this stuff is good. None of it. Because what has happened, like with that act alone, it was written specifically during that time period of what they were looking at, what they were facing. So now you get all these years down the road and they want to use it and twist it, manipulate it, and make it fit, and it shouldn't. Because our Constitution was written, the original Constitution was written as a living, breathing, always moving forward. The Constitution itself, the original Constitution, not the amendments, but the original Constitution, if you go read it, it's like commands. Okay, the Congress is to do this, and the president does this, and the vice president does. We can always change the laws under it if a law is no longer needed. If it's not necessary, we can abolish it. We can revoke an order. And this is what they're trying to teach people, is that what's always in law don't have to be there. That's why I tell people I'm not a law and order guy simply because it's a law. I'm a laws and orders guy, where we are, what we need, but does it still support our foundation? Does it still support our foundation and our future? But what's good for all people? That old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Well, what's been happening in the last 150 years has not been that. They created division, chaos, because division and chaos put together equals power acquisition. So they would go run and appease this group over here. Hey, BLM. Hey, yeah. Then, okay, we got them. Okay. Hey, you white people. Da, 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 da. They went around it's created chaos. And until every American is tired of that, even though the operation is doing what it's doing, but until the people catch up, the way the people catch up is to go, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the yelling, the fussing. Okay, well, there's already a solution. That's why it's so humorous to people like me. That's why I don't care what you think. I don't like his delivery. Well, why are you listening? Because I'm the only one that talks about this? Yep, probably. I'm the only one that talks the whole blueprint, the whole. That's why my podcasts are 2, 3, 4 hours long, because you don't need just, you got people out there, they decide the buffet for you. You might be able to eat a lot on the buffet. You might be able to get 2 or 3 plates. You got people out there just giving you one little sliver. All right, come back. Subscribe, though. Make sure you subscribe. To what? There's already a solution. There's already a blueprint to the whole thing. You don't need a little slice of the pie. That may be all you can handle, but you still need the pie always sitting right in front of you going, hey, if you can eat me, the whole thing, you can have me right here. Like me, I had a little birthday cake, my birthday 2 weeks ago. I ate the whole cake in one sitting. I probably shouldn't have, but it looked good. And when I started tasting it, I was like, oh, man, I don't think I can stop. And I didn't stop. Why stop? My stomach can hold it, right? So it's the same thing with laws and orders. There's so many people out there where we are right now. You got the full blueprint. And see, once it's out, it's out. I saw a TikTok video. Someone showed, I don't know what it was on. It was on Instagram or something. They're trying to show the funeral. They're trying to show the Arlington. They're trying to show people that's never heard of me. Well, is it visual for everybody? Yep. But see, once it's out there, there's going to be people who go, you know what? My people don't know who Derek Johnson is. And I can blow up and I can show them something they've never seen before. And they're going to get credit for it. And that's the Andy Griffith Barney thing, where I shouldn't be going, oh, well, I'm the one that showed it. No one's told this before. Only a few military saw it. So, see, that goes back to look at people's intent and motives out there. They want to be the one that totes the news, and they didn't even know it when it happened. So, priorities. What are you feeding on? What are you feeding yourself? My grandpa and everybody, my grandpa, my grandmas, the old school, my dad especially, but my dad and grandpa always said an idle mind is the devil's workshop. But you can also feed your mind the wrong things. Like when I was growing up, some of you may relate to this. When I was a young boy, my dad would put me in a deer stand by myself. I'm talking about 6 and 7 years old. Put me in a deer stand by myself. It didn't even have to be dark. When that four-wheeler got out of sight, and I got there for about an hour or two, and it was just as quiet could get, and you couldn't even hear a cricket because it wasn't cricket time yet. Guess what I had? I had a creative mind. So guess what I'd see? I didn't see no deer, like a fake deer or a ghost deer yet, picturing a deer in the green pasture in the field or whatever I was sitting in. All I could see were cowboys and Indians coming out shooting each other and then taking me hostage. And when I was like 7 years old, Dad! I yelled to the top of my lungs. My dad was like, coming back on the floor, what are you doing yelling? I'm like, I'm scared. What are you scared of? I'm like, I don't know. But I'm scared. Why do you leave me? Why do I gotta sit by myself? When I'm 6 and 7, 8 years old, he was teaching me to be a man. Don't be scared. You got the gun. You're in control. You have the gun. You have control of your thoughts. You have control of your mind. You have control of the gun. If there was a bad guy popped up, you hold it on, say, halt, stop. What do you want? What are you doing? If that rare, crazy incident happened, if they keep walking to you, hey, let them have it. So, and I don't mind. But also, if you feed your mind the wrong things, guess what can happen? You can start believing all the wrong things. And if you just keep telling yourself for that too long, guess what it becomes? A habit. And then what they say about habits, they're very hard to break because you've been thinking that so long. And a lot of you have been brainwashed by the deep state via psychological manipulation, which is what narcissists do. They beat you down, wear you down, and then make you the guilty one, the bad guy. But then also they manipulate you so much, sometimes you start believing it. So guys like me, if I don't know you personally, but even if I do, sometimes you have to have a little kick in the butt, right? And going, I love you and I care about you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling for you. I'm upset for you. I'm mad for you. Not mad at you, not yelling at you. Don't know you. And if I don't know you, especially, I have no, but everybody has to have that somebody that says, look, forget about all this stuff. Forget this noise. Stop doing this. You have a blueprint. And where we are right now, whoo, like Jerry Clower, whoo, we shouldn't be where we are right now, especially Patriots. We should have so much more right now building for the real golden age, because we're February, March, April, May, June. We're not far from July, the one that's supposed to be the biggest, awesome birthday. I mean, think about that. Think how many people is going to be lost even on July the 4th. Oh, they're going to celebrate. They're going to shoot fireworks. No, yeah. I'm proud to be an American, well, at least I know. Everybody can be patriotic, but they won't have a dang. They had no clue. Majority of Americans will have no clue in their hearts what they've been witnessing, what they've been watching until the bigger revelations. But they don't even have to wait till the bigger revelation. No one has to wait till the bigger revelations. There are already revelations. There are already validations. There are already vindications. And they're so astronomical that you can already feel that fire. You can already feel like running down a new beach and just opening your arms up. Wow, yeah, baby. Being free. That's being truly free. I wouldn't recommend running naked in any other place but a new beach. At least they say, hey, you can do it here. And we got it, validated through the city that you can do it here. If you do it down in the South, you're going to get arrested. All right. Unless it's during football season and Alabama wins the national championship, then they'll let you go. All right. But so all this stuff is just stuff. All the other stuff, if it's negative, if it's a Debbie Downer, all that, it's don't, if like the Bible, and I'm not the one to be preaching to you, by all means. I know preachers that you need to talk to, not me. But the Bible does say that I didn't give you the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. Then the Bible also says what? He's not the author of confusion. God ain't. All right, and the people who are truly following God, but also doing God's will, God gave us this planet. He gave us free will. He gave that to us. So the way you tell that is by the fruits. The Bible says you can judge a tree by the fruit it bears. And a lot of people have been eating raw persimmon. You don't need to eat raw persimmon. And I use the persimmon because if you've ever eaten a raw persimmon, you know what I'm talking about. It'll turn your mouth inside out. Literally. It'll feel that way. And so many people are talking on the wrong side of their mouth right now. On all sides of the aisle. Whether it be a podcaster or regular folks. And guys like me can't stand either one of them if they're doing it with the wrong intent and motives to mislead you purposely, but also ignorantly. Because if you're in a podcast seat, you should have the mindset to go, you know what? I probably, if I think I'm somebody, if I'm using President Trump's name, then they have to have the cognizance to go, you know what? He is the president, but he's also commander in chief. So see, if they don't know anything about the military or anything aspect, they shouldn't be talking as a mouthpiece. And that's where you have control. You have control to unfollow. You have control to turn it off, click back, do whatever. You have that control. And, you know, I don't tell you that you should follow me and only me, but my only opinion would be, well, I am the only one that talks about the full blueprint that can get you on a foundation that can give you peace and calmness. And when you have a foundation, then you'll have discernment to be able to look at something and click off of it or not. And it won't affect you, meaning it won't take seed, it won't take root, it won't plant. You'll be able to look at it and go, oh, you know, scoff it off. And that's the difference. That's that hairline difference. What I'm talking about, the terminology, is that right now there's no excuses. I mean, it really isn't. I mean, the tariffs prove right there that Joe was never president. Because if tariffs were added to your paycheck, pocketbook, taxes, burden, everything, destroying the economy like the liberals say, then they'd have to answer why, quote unquote, Joe continued all the tariffs. Didn't terminate a single one. It was displayed to the world that it was a Democrat president, Democrat controlled House, Democrat controlled Senate from 21 to 23, and they didn't terminate a single tariff. Ladies and gentlemen, do you realize what kind of power that is? If you had a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate, you know how much power that is? They couldn't turn in it. They just played this. It wasn't real. President Trump's already validated with his text again and all the other stuff. You wouldn't need the text in the first place. You wouldn't need the post if you knew the laws and orders. But terminated. And then he used a Latin term, no legal effect. Well, it's got a Latin translation. And the Latin translation of no legal effect is void ab initio. And you translate that, guess what it means? Never existed. So he just sat there and told you that Joe never existed. If you watch the new Melania documentary, it zooms in on the 45-47. It homes in real close to it. And you see it, and it pauses on it just briefly. I mean, so it's an emphasis. And that movie is showing, it's a documentary, but they're leading to what you're going to be seeing in the future. They're going to roll it out all different kinds of ways, the way people do what? Receive things. But, I mean, all these intricacies, though, show you that Joe was not real. I mean, again, the people out there say, well, you said he continued them. Well, if you don't know the strategic plan, if you're still the target audience, then you can use two different scenarios to prove either way, though. Because if President Trump's a Nazi, a king, a dictator, then why did quote unquote Joe? Why didn't they terminate anything? And then Epstein. This is how all this integrates. It all integrates and conjoins. You say, okay, so you guys are all concerned about Epstein, but Obama and Clinton appointed judges blocked the grand jury material from the 2005 to 2007, the first indictments of Epstein, which would have what in there, ladies and gentlemen? It would have direct evidence. You know what direct evidence is? DNA. Ooh. So why are Clinton and Obama appointed judges blocking that material, but the same judges, and I'm not talking about individually, but I'm talking about the same appointed judges out of that whole era of Obama and Clinton and even Bush, because he flipped and everybody's seeing his colors, the people that never knew it. Excuse me, but isn't that a principle? If Obama and Clinton appointed judges blocked Epstein material, but President Trump's supposedly in there like the liberals think, but the same appointed judges couldn't block one single tariff from 21 to 25. If tariffs were against the law, then they would have been against the law in 2018, January 23rd, when President Trump put the first tariff into place. January 23rd, 2018. They would have been against the law January 23rd, 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. How did the tariffs make it all through those years and not one single judge from Obama, Clinton, or Bush try to block it? And then the 21 to 23, which is a heavier emphasis, Democrat everything to the world displayed. They couldn't terminate a single thing. This is that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the things that you don't have answers to yet, you don't need to worry about that yet. If it's not my wheelhouse to talk about it, like financials, quantums, and all the other stuff, all this other things like the rollout and what's going to happen with IRAs and 401ks and all, that's not my wheelhouse. All right, there are people out there that's in their wheelhouse, but for things like that, if I don't have your answer, and there's not an answer there yet, if you knew everything that has a visual, verbal validation that is so big, but it's foundational principles, then you would realize that President Donald John Trump is not the only person in control. This is a strategic operation by multiple leaders, world leaders, military, and leaders on the other side. There's no way President Trump, as a regular president, pulled off any of this as a regular president whatsoever. People forget about North Korea. Oh, Hillary in 2016. He's going to get us in a nuclear war with Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And all he did was get the little fat boy to let him be the first president in United States history to walk into North Korea. That was all pre-planned, ladies and gentlemen. That was not real-time, live time. It happened, but it was not real-time, live time. It was a strategic pre-plan. Also, Walt, the first foreign for any leader in the forbidden city of China for 500 plus years. 500 plus years. He handed the trophy to the sumo wrestler in Japan. The emperor's supposed to do it first. The emperor, so President Trump's an emperor. He's a king because Saudi Arabia crowned him a king. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the supreme commander of the world. Somebody had to get the recognition. Somebody had to sit in that seat. Man, woman, dog, whatever. Somebody had to be the face. And it was perfect to use a man like President Trump because of his past, because of all the holier than thou's out there. So you think because someone's famous that it erases what you've been doing on your computer and what you've been doing on your phone laws and what you've been saying behind closed doors, what you've been thinking about your boss and your family and your friends and whoever else. Oh, you holier than thou. See, if people would mind your own business and clean up your own backyard, hit your own knees, worry about your own knees. And I'm not talking about what Kamala did on her knees, but I'm talking about worry about your knees and do what you're supposed to be doing. Then the world would straighten up quick. If everybody would get out of this point and finger nonsense. There's a difference in pointing the finger and a difference in holding leaders accountable. When you hold leaders accountable, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. You got to have constructive criticism. If you have criticism, it's got to be constructive, meaning you know the laws, you know the orders, the rules, the procedures, whatever it is, strategy, tactic, etc. All the above, integrated, little bit of whatever it is, whatever someone's working with, you need to know that. So all these people out there yelling, bickering, fussing, complaining, it's just a bunch of noise. So, you know, I could keep rattling off, but President Trump, he's the perfect person because he wasn't military, but he also wasn't a career politician. So he's a neutral candidate. He's a neutral. And it's perfect because then it sets a new standard for the future, and everything we're going to get to, it's going to be re-education, and his people don't forget about the 1776 commission because they thought, quote unquote, Joe terminated it. If Joe was real, if he would have been real and if he'd have been president, you wouldn't want a president terminating a 1776 commission. And a report, it's got Martin Luther King Jr. in it. It's got Rosa Parks. I mean, so why wouldn't you want that taught in schools? So see, when they call him a racist, they'd have to prove he's racist. They could say, well, he's just putting them in there because they're big political figures and they were big figures in, you know, the world, and they're black. Well, you could use that, but you still have to prove that someone's racist. And why do you even, like, how would you prove that? And why would that be your main focus? Why are you so mad? Like, what are you trying to do? Like, people who try to make dirt. I know people don't forgotten, but people tried to frame me 3 years ago. They tried to make dirt. They had to try to Photoshop a conversation together of me and a certain type female out there. Why are they trying to make stuff? Why are they so mad? Why? And then most of them claim to be good people. They claim that they're, we're America first. They claim to be patriots. They claim to be constitutionalists. They claim. So why don't you use the Constitution to prove me wrong if I'm wrong? Why don't you use the same material I'm using? Why are you trying to make stuff up? That's just not me. They've done this to everybody. That's their tactic. And that's where you have to get sharp too. See, anybody who's trying to make dirt and make stuff up like they've done on President Trump, even in the real time, before we went into a military government and all the other things, we're talking about the early days, 2015, 2016, 2017, they try to make dirt. If they're trying to make dirt, you know what they ain't got, ladies and gentlemen? They ain't got pay dirt. Now, you can put that in the rattle trapology out there. I ain't never heard anybody else say that. But if they're trying to make dirt, they ain't got pay dirt. And if you know anything what pay dirt means, then you know what I'm talking about. It's where you find the gold and the diamonds and everything in the pay dirt. Meaning when you're digging in dirt, you're looking for something that's going to pay. So President Trump's the perfect person to put a big wedge in world history. Now, we can't erase history because it's there. We're going to have to use it as a grid and a legend to learn from it. But you can't go back 63 years and try to hang people they're all dead anyway. So you can't punish people today for an action that took place that was an atrocity way back when. You have to learn from it, and you have to do what? Prevention, which is what talks about. Military law talks about prevention. What means you have to get in the mirror and cowgirl up or cowboy up, man up, woman up, get in the mirror and say, you know what? I can do more. And guess what you can always do every day? You can always do more with everything and anything. I always do more. I can do more. That's what I do every morning in the mirror. I say, God, what do you want me to do today? Who am I going to make mad today? But yeah, who am I going to ruffle feathers today? But we can always do more. And there's a great quote that said, and I think it's Denzel Washington gets accredited with it, but it says, you'll never be criticized by someone doing more than you because they ain't got time to. There's a difference, though, in defending yourself. I've defended myself, especially when people are trying to steal from me and all the other stuff. There's a difference in defense and then criticizing or attacking someone. Huge difference. And so many people have got to learn that. You got to get tough. And you know, that's President Trump is a face. He's the figure. He got to get the recognition. Somebody had to. But this is a bigger operation. It's bigger than that. And you got to get in the Andy Griffith kind of mindset, where it's like,
And
you know, well, he let Barney win every now and then. He let Barney feel like Barney caught the thief. And he actually called him and set it up, and Barney thought he caught him. And he never told Barney that, you know, I set that up. I did that. He just let him think that. So there you go.
And you know, you were saying, Derek, it's an operation, everybody, and I think once everybody understands the operation, how that all works, you know, when we talk about the art of war, the art of war, the art of the deal, all this stuff, right? The blueprint, like Derek has. Once you guys understand that, I think you'll have a little bit more solace into what's going on. And if you listen to Derek, it's and what we say, you got to be careful who you follow, because there's a lot of this naysaying and all this just crap going on out there. So really follow Donald Trump, and like I said, follow Derek. You know, he's being vindicated. 107's being vindicated. A lot of this stuff that they've told us, and many others too, guys. But I say this with these guys because they're, you know, a constant, they're consistent on my show as they are on others, and their messaging has never changed. Like Donald Trump, he's never changed in his messaging. So just hang in there, everybody. We got to go through this to get to the other side of it. I do believe we're going to still see some bumps, but you know what Derek said and what I've been saying, they're just going to try to take Trump down or just smear him in any way, shape, or possible, because they know they're done, guys. And again, this is already done.
Well,
So
let me just use another example really quick. So a lot of people have ridden on a plane. If you haven't, don't let this scare you, but just making a point. If you've ever been on a plane, the first time you're ever on one, if you are scared and you hit turbulence, you're going to be scared because it starts being bumpy and it can get rough up there. I've flown through some bull crap before. Don't fly with me because I always get on the worst flights if you don't like turbulence. I get them. And when the first time I ever was in stupid turbulence, I mean, I had a friend of mine in California who was a pilot, and he was a pilot instructor for Southwest, but he was also in the Marine Corps, was a helicopter pilot. And he explained this to me better than anybody. He was like, boy, you grew up in the country, you grew up on dirt roads. He was like, you ride your four-wheeler in your truck, you go over them bumps, you feel every bump, but you're used to it because your calmness and your habitat, what you call your home and in your theater, it's yours and you're used to it. But you take someone who's never been on a dirt road on a four-wheeler out there, they're going to be hanging on tight to you. They may not be scared, but they know it's bumpy. Well, he said, look, he took an aircraft. He said, most people think when they're flying on the aircraft that the air is up under the aircraft. And when you hit this quote unquote turbulence that you're bouncing, he said, you're not. The air is going over the aircraft, and the aircraft is moving so fast, and that resistance that at the nose and the aerodynamics where the air is going above the aircraft, that aircraft's moving so fast, and because the pressure's so tight, whatever you want to call it, on top, it's hitting. And he was like, so it feels like you fall. You'll hear people, he said, you'll hear people, oh, we fell 25, 30 feet today. He said, no, you didn't. You didn't fall 25. You didn't even fall. You were hitting the air. You were, it's hitting up. The aircraft's going up. It's not bouncing. And so, see, when you think of it, most people who are scared of turbulence, what does it do? They think they're crashing. Oh, the plane's falling. It's falling. He's like, it's not. The plane's never falling. The plane's only going to descend when the pilot makes it descend, because that air is always on top. So see, it's a mindset, and a lot of people have yet to hear that analogy. And that one thing I've told so many people who've been afraid to fly, and I've told them that. I said, really think about it. But you got to think about it, and then you got to apply it, make it applicable, and you got to really envision that. And then once you make it applicable in your heart, you're going to realize that the plane is not crashing, it's not falling, and they can glide that plane to the ground. it's going to go faster to the ground, but they'll still guide it because that aerodynamic's still there as long as the wing don't fly off. But if you're there, then it just might be your day to go. But other than that, the odds of that ain't there. So when you apply that, so it's the same kind of mindset again, is that it's not bumpy. What we're going through is not bumpy. It's only bumpy for the people who don't know the what? The plan. They don't have the vision. But if you are someone who knows me, your family and friends, then you can't make them listen. That's one other thing. But if they can, if they're in a place, then you got to share people like me who can show them the plan and the foundation and the principles. Until they have that, all this other stuff is just, it's not going to ever gel or work because it's all opinions, and it's all opinions based on what one individual and maybe a few individuals want versus what's already been voted on. 77 million people voted for President Trump this last go around. I think it's more than that. They're going to show the real numbers through the forensics. But the but to it is that he already has the go ahead. Everybody else to catch up in that. But he's got the overall go ahead. But then it's gonna, you know, they're gonna show everything. That's why the Melania documentary is just a touch of the iceberg. It's a tip. But the 45-47, they zoom in on the front of the vehicle. It's an emphasis. In Melania's video, ladies and gentlemen, this is about Melania. It's not about President Trump. Now, he's in there because obviously she's the first lady, but this is about her. And she zooms in. They zoom in on the 45-47. Come on, folks.
Hang in there. Yeah, hang in there. I appreciate that, Derek, because it's wild in a lot of these podcast spaces, chat rooms, comment boxes. So you guys hang in there. Just hang in there. Follow Derek Johnson, because remember, everybody, messaging is key, and the consistency is key in what they're saying, and you know that they're saying the same thing all the time. That they haven't changed their tune. So with that, everybody, Derek is here with us every 2 weeks, unless something happens. Life happens as it does with me, you guys, because I have my day gig. And again, like I said, it takes precedence. So just I'm doing a lot of maneuvering with the podcast right now, but Derek is back. Field will be here on Wednesday. And then you guys have seen the list of the upcoming shows for this week. So SJ Anon will be here as well. He was not feeling very good last week, so he will be here Thursday. But Derek, we'll see you in 2 weeks, my friend.
I should be around. I mean,
all right. Well, if not, we're going to go fishing for you.
I never know where I'll be.
All right, so you have a great evening, and everybody here, have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you here tomorrow night, 5:30 Mountain Standard Time, for Rick Anson from Brain IQ Health. And then, of course, Wednesday we'll have Silk, Dallas, Field McConnell, SG on Thursday, and then John Baxter on Friday, as well as Michael Castorello regarding the corruption in the Southern District of New York, the justice system. So with that, everybody, God bless you. Thank you, Derek, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Derek.